What is up? Welcome to No Punt Intended, presented by Club Fantasy. And yes, I look a little bit different. A few weeks ago, I said that if we hit 1,500 subscribers by week one, I would dye the beer red, and you folks delivered. We are 2 away from 1,600. Let's go ahead and just make that a reality during tonight's show. It is our week one preview. No Joe Zolo. It's me and Josh breaking down some of our favorite plays, some of our least favorite plays for NFL week one in the 2025 season. Let's get into it. What is up? Welcome to No Punt Intended, presented by Club Fantasy. I am your host, Ryan Weiss. With me, as always, Josh Hudson. How you doing tonight, Josh?
Fly, Eagles, fly, baby. Ready for Thursday night, defending Super Bowl champions.
There you go. Ready for week one of the NFL season. We're going to get this show started. We are not going to screw around with intros. I'm going to do a couple of things right from the top. I'm going to remind you that if you like the content that Club Fantasy is putting out right now, hit the like button. If you want to see more of it, hit the subscribe button. Now that the season is in tow, I have to let you guys know we go live 5 days a week. We do shows 6 days a week. The only day we take off is Sunday, and we still answer your questions online. We just don't do an actual show that day. It's all about the content. Subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to. Throw a like and drop a comment how you discovered Club Fantasy. If you're one of our new 100 subscribers, we welcome you to the show. We also remind you guys, now that we're in the regular season, if you want to make sure your question gets answered right away, we do have Super Chat available. If you throw us a little bit of money, we ignore the show sheet. We answer your question right away. We're going to answer every question on this show. I like to make that very clear. But Super Chat gets you answered a little bit faster if you don't want to stick around. But why wouldn't you want to stick around? And we also have some partnerships we need to talk about. And Josh, I'm going to let you go ahead, let the folks know how we work with Trophy Smack.
Absolutely. The fantasy football season is here. And Trophy Smack is where you want to get all of your rewards. They have trophies, rings, and championship belts, all designed to tell your league mates who the real champion is. And don't forget to show some love to your commissioner for the thankless job that they have. Hit the link in the description of this podcast and check out some of the swag you can get for your commish, and let them know he's at least the second most important person in the league behind you. All of it available at trophysmack.com.
There you go. One last thing we're going to remind you of. We do have an absolutely free Discord. If you guys are looking to talk fantasy football, even fantasy baseball, there's going to be a lot of DFS talk as we move into this football season. Check the link in the description of this video. We'll get you guys into that Discord. It is absolutely free. It's a very cool place to hang out. NFL news and notes. There was some very interesting stuff that went down as we're starting to look at unofficial and official depth charts. Travis Hunter listed as the starting wide receiver, backup cornerback on the week one depth chart for the Jaguars. Austin Eckler is the starting running back over the infamous Bill Krosky-Merritt and Chris Rodriguez. Caleb Johnson listed as the RB3 in Pittsburgh behind Jalen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell. Najee Harris is expected to play in Brazil, and Juwan Jennings is expected to play for the San Francisco 49ers. Josh, when we look at these news and notes, I think the one that stands out to everybody is Caleb Johnson being listed as the RB3. How are we reading into this for week one lineups? Can you play Caleb Johnson against the New York Jets in week one?
Yeah, I think you can play him. I'm not expecting a ton out of it, simply because A, he's a rookie. It's Arthur Smith. You never know what you're going to do or never know what you're going to get out of it. But they've been hyping up Jalen Warren. I think he starts the season as that starter, which is fine. He's going to be very playable when it comes to fantasy football, especially in PPR leagues. But there's a reason they drafted Caleb Johnson. They need a hammer. Jalen Warren is not a hammer. Kenneth Gainwell, he's a jag. Caleb Johnson is going to be that guy in that backfield. The Jets have a good run defense anyway. I don't think this is a great matchup for Caleb Johnson, but you're going to see some PPR value with Jalen Warren here in week one.
There you go. Josh, we already got some user questions. I think we're going to jump into that. I do want to throw Jay up on the screen real quick. Gator Jay, part of Club Fantasy. It's the red beard for the people. I told folks that I would do something. Joe wanted me to shave my beard. We'll talk about that later. But I said I would at least dye the beard if we hit 1,500 subscribers by week one. And the people delivered, plain and simple. Jeff Rogers has some questions for us, Josh. Pick two. Already our first start sit questions of the season. Scary Terry, Tyreek Hill, Xavier Worthy, or Ricky Pearsall. He is starting one. Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. Josh, I need 2 of these wide receivers.
Yeah, this is pretty easy for me. I absolutely love Tyreek Hill this week. I think him and the Dolphins offense is going to absolute ball out. And I'm going Xavier Worthy. I think without Rashee Rice, he's going to be extremely utilized, very heavily targeted. Him and Travis Kelce are going to be the heart and soul of that passing attack for the first 6 weeks of the season. Terry McLaurin not really being in practice much at all this offseason. I'm being very trepidatious when it comes to him. Ricky Pearsall, he had a good end of the season, which is great. He's one of the only healthy wide receivers for San Francisco, and I think he's going to have some value. But give me the explosiveness. Give me what Pearsall can't do, and that is 8 for 150 and a touchdown. That's going to be Tyreek. That's going to be Xavier Worthy. Take the explosiveness with those 2.
I'm going with those same 2 plays, Josh. I wonder if Ricky Pearsall being the only healthy San Francisco wide receiver early on is not going to end up being a problem for him, because I don't know that Ricky Pearsall's game is one that a defense can't take away, especially Seattle has Tariq Woolen, and there are players in Seattle who can shut down.
Yeah, and let's not forget, there were plenty of games last year where Ricky Pearsall literally put up goose eggs because he was the only guy that defenses had to take away, and they did pretty easily.
Yeah.
Pearsall can be a good, productive wide receiver. He's not a true number 1. The benefit to Pearsall in fantasy football is that the way that the San Francisco offense schematically works, you don't need to be a dominant wide receiver 1 to put up dominant numbers.
Josh, are we going to stay away from all training camp holdouts? Jeff also needs to know James Cook or Tony Pollard. Cook against Baltimore, Pollard against Denver. Both have tough matchups.
I would go with Cook over Pollard personally. And I've said this numerous times. A lot of the reasons why James Cook didn't get targeted last season was simply because Buffalo didn't play a ton of fourth quarters. They didn't need to throw the football because they jumped out to early leads. James Cook is going to be fine. He's going to regress in touchdowns. He's not going to score 16 again. If he does, hey, you know what? Great. Maybe this is the new norm. But the reality is he's probably going to be more of like a 7 to 9 touchdown guy. And if that's the case, he's going to need to make up that fantasy production in the passing game. That to me is what's going to be a benefit, simply because that Baltimore Ravens secondary got a lot better, and the Bills don't exactly have a true number 1 guy. So even if they're older, they can shut down mediocre wide receivers. That's going to benefit guys like James Cook.
Yeah, and I'll go to the other side of it of why I'm also starting James Cook. I like Tony Pollard. I'm worried that entire Titans offense struggles in Cam Ward's first game in Denver. We're going to talk more about that later in the show. It is also James Cook for me. Extend Mags wants to know, he's starting 1 in the flex. Are we going tight end flex? Are we going with the Kelly Singh strategy, Josh? Sam Laporta in the flex, or running back Tyrone Tracy out of the New York Giants?
Yeah, it's Tyrone Tracy for me. I tend to avoid
tight ends. I will say unless it's tight end premium.
Correct. Yeah, if it's tight end premium, that's a very different story. I'm going to assume it's not. Very few redraft leagues are. It's Tyrone Tracy. I'm always going to side with the running back or the wide receiver. Plus with Laporta, I honestly worry that he's the 5th target in that offense.
I don't know that I'm
do.
I don't know that I'm worried he's that far down the target tree, but I get what you're saying. But again, it's all agreements right now. I guess this is a good first week. It's Tyrone Tracy for me. I'm not starting tight ends in my flex unless it is a heavy tight end premium format. Louis Guan has Travian Henderson, Ricky Pearsall, Tony Pollard, and DK Metcalf. Josh, I know for a fact, based on things we've already said on the show and things I know on the show sheet, we hate 3 of these guys, and now he has to pick 2 of them. So I think we both agree it's Travian Henderson. I just don't know who the other one's going to be for the 2 of us, Josh.
Yeah, for me, it's going to be Henderson and Pearsall. I think there's enough there with Pearsall that he can do some damage, even if he is the number 1 guy. Like we said, I don't love Pollard this week. Don't love the matchup. It's going to be tough sledding, and Metcalf we'll get into a little bit later, but very down on Metcalf this week.
I'm going to go DK Metcalf, and we'll fight about that later. So for me, it's Henderson and Metcalf. For Josh, it's Henderson and Pearsall. And Jay wraps up this round of questioning with CJ Stroud or Bryce Young. Stroud gets, why am I blanking on who Houston's playing?
Rams.
Stroud gets the Rams. Young gets the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Bryce Young finished the end of the season last year with 10 with 10 straight games throwing a touchdown pass.
Yep.
And gets the god-awful Jacksonville Jaguars secondary. Meanwhile, CJ Stroud has to go against the fearsome front seven of the Los Angeles Rams with a terrible offensive line. This is Bryce Young, and it's not particularly close for me.
I'm going to agree. I'll be honest. Looking at this, I had Stroud ahead of my rankings, Josh, but the more you talked, the more I listened, and I'm also going to go Bryce Young in this over CJ Stroud. Quincy, we see your question. Give us a little bit here. We will jump back into user questions in just a moment. New segment to start the show, because we got to talk about the thumbnail. It is the Smash Play of the Week. Every week, a different host is going to pick. Since I'm hosting week 1, I let Josh pick the player. Josh, talk to me about your Smash Play for NFL week 1.
It is Malik Nabers. In 2 games versus the Commanders last season, Malik Nabers saw 29 targets. That led to 19 catches for 186 yards and 1 touchdown. And for those wondering, no, he did not face off against the Commanders' trade deadline acquisition, Marshawn Lattimore. But he, as in Lattimore, nor anyone else in that Washington secondary should scare you. Lattimore got absolutely abused by Philadelphia, and that was with Kenny Pickett throwing the football. Nabers saw 170 targets last season and finished as the wide receiver 6 with absolutely atrocious quarterback play. He gets an upgraded quarterback in the form of Russell Wilson and has first-round pick Jackson Dart waiting in the wings. When a wide receiver has a great year with bad quarterback play, the arrow only points up. Nabers is going to kick off 2025 with an absolute bang in week 1 versus the Commanders.
So, Josh, I'm going to give you a little bit of a hard time here. Let me be very clear. I love Malik Nabers. He's a top 3 wide receiver for me this week. But what would this show be if I didn't give you a little bit of pushback?
Oh, it's okay.
We spent the first 10 minutes of the show picking on players who missed a lot of time in the preseason. Malik Nabers missed a lot of time in the preseason, Josh, with a back problem. I get everything you're saying, but this one doesn't concern you. He's young enough. He's going to shrug that back problem off.
Yeah, I'm not that worried about it. I think it was more maintenance than anything. The way that Russ throws those moon balls, look, Malik Nabers has great downfield speed and only averaged, I think, 11.1 yards per reception last year. He's going to be pushing 13 and up this year. And that elite target share, I am all on board Malik Nabers, which I don't particularly love considering I'm an Eagles fan. But this week, I think he should very easily top 10 targets, should exceed 100 yards, and at least 1 touchdown against that god-awful Washington secondary.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you, Josh, mainly because one of the things that really shocked me about the New York Giants this year, while they obviously went out and tried to make improvements at quarterback, they did not make adjustments to any other player of this offense, really. It's the same starting running back.
Exactly.
And
I think when you keep that level of continuity, your offense isn't going to change. The offense is chuck it to Malik Nabers and great things are going to happen.
Yeah. And this time it's an actual quarterback chucking it to Malik Nabers. Josh, I don't know how much more we need to dive into Malik Nabers. If you got him, you're starting him, but we're calling it. As Josh mentioned, he is top 3 in the Club Fantasy consensus rankings, which you can find at clubfantasyffl.com. Those are live every Tuesday from now on for the rest of the season. But Josh, we're also doing a game of the week. And you had a little bit of a debate here and probably went with a game that if I let the chat guess for 5 minutes, they wouldn't guess your game of the week.
That is absolutely true, because my game of the week for fantasy purposes, the Miami Dolphins against the Indianapolis Colts. You have a fast football team in a dome. You have a bad passing offense against an even worse passing defense. What's not to love about this Dolphins-Colts matchup? Tua Tagovailoa and Tyreek Hill, they've had some squabbles. They're fine. Indy doesn't have a single corner who can keep up with the speed on this offense. And if you didn't know, Indy actually just signed former Dolphins corner Xavier Howard, who is known for getting beat. Guess who beat him in practice a ton? Guys like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Devon Achane is going to be healthy. He's going to play. He will be heavily involved. On the defensive side, they have Minkah Fitzpatrick. Great. But that's it in the secondary. The Colts drafted Tyler Warren to use him, and they featured him quite a bit in the preseason. I think he's going to be a big part, especially early in the season, as they try to find some rhythm on offense. The over-under in this game actually is set at 46.5. So I think there's room here where you can see some potential offensive output. I love this game from a fantasy perspective for a lot of players involved.
Yeah, I'm going to quickly throw Jay up on the screen. He got $5. He goes up on the screen. Jay just wants to show love for the show, throws $5 at us. We appreciate you, buddy. Remind everybody we do have Super Chat. If you want to make sure your question gets answered after one of us is done talking, we will answer that question. For everybody else who has questions in the chat, we're going to get to you as soon as the segment's over. Josh, I agree wholeheartedly. And what I really do love is there are so many different players that could pop in this game and be interesting. You brought up the big ones, obviously the Jalen Waddle rebound, obviously the Tyreek Hill rebound. Darren Waller, I mean, who's to say if he has anything in the tank? They were willing to replace Jonnu Smith with Darren Waller, and this was an offense that was very friendly to the tight end. We all know how you love Devon Achane, but I also like the backup because maybe Achane, they need to rest him a bit. I'm not saying he doesn't play, but if my man Ollie Gordon, a guy who I've liked from the year when he should have come out to this year where he ends up in what we thought was a bad situation, maybe it's not so bad. Ollie Gordon. Then you flip to the other side of the ball. Jonathan Taylor's a stud. You brought up Tyler Warren, Michael Pittman, and Josh Downs with a quarterback like Daniel Jones who can throw the ball. I don't mean Daniel Jones is good. I just mean he can throw the ball better than Anthony Richardson. There are a lot of interesting fantasy plays in this game. And when you're thinking of waiver wire, when you're thinking of DFS, some of these guys might actually be out there for you to grab right now. I was able to get Ollie Gordon in leagues still, even with the hype that's going on with Devon Achane right now.
Yeah, there were a lot of drafts that completely missed Ollie Gordon, right? Like people just kind of assumed that Jalen Wright would be that second guy. I was definitely one of them. Yeah. I think I only have like 1, maybe 2 shares of Ollie Gordon in Dynasty. But now Wright's on IR. They only have essentially 2 running backs right now, and it's Achane and it's Gordon. So they're going to use both of them because 180-pound Devon Achane isn't going to be able to touch the football 35 times. Let's be real. But what he can do is be extremely effective in the passing game, which, again, if they're running 21, 22 personnel, whatever they want to do, 20 personnel, they will utilize both Achane and Gordon on the field. And Mike McDaniel's not afraid of that. He was the run game coordinator in San Francisco. 2 seasons ago, this offense produced an 18 touchdown runner. There's room for this running game on top of what they're able to do in the passing game to be quality fantasy products.
Yeah. Made Raheem Mostert fantasy relevant. So let's not deny what this offense can do. Josh, before we move into our plays of week 1, first of all, thank you, Josh, for your plays of the week when it comes to week 1 and starting the show off there. But we have a bunch more questions. So before we move on,
bring them, baby.
Knock out the user questions. Quincy Davis, first up, 10-man league, 6-point touchdown.
6 points for passing touchdown for quarterbacks.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. And then it says T, so I got confused. But anyway, so we got Jaden Daniels, Tucker Kraft. So his quarterback is Jaden Daniels. His tight end is Tucker Kraft. He needs to start 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 2 flex. So we're essentially picking 6 of this list of players. Josh, I'm not going to read the list. Folks online can look at the list if you're watching us on YouTube. But Josh, when you look at this list of players, which 6 are you starting? Let's start with the 2 running backs.
So the 2 running backs, I'm definitely going with CMC and Achane. Those are 2 top 5 guys pretty easily for me. When I look at 2 wide receivers, I love me some Emeka Egbuka this week. I think he's going to absolutely ball out for the Bucks, especially with their depleted wide receiver core. Don't love Garrett Wilson this week. Cortland Sutton should be pretty solid. So I'd probably go Sutton, Egbuka, and then CMC, Achane, and then we need 2 flexes. Is that Chase Brown or Jamar Chase? I'm going to assume Chase Brown. So that'll definitely be one of my flexes.
Yeah.
And I will probably go with Stephon Diggs over Terry McLaurin and Pearsall in the flex.
Well, this sucks because I'm agreeing with Josh yet again. That's exactly how I'm going to start is assuming that's Chase Brown. I'm going with those 3 running backs. For sure, they're not coming out of the lineup. And then Egbuka, I think for week 1, I think he's that unknown rookie that could I use unknown loosely here just because he wasn't going very high in drafts. Cortland Sutton, just because again, I kind of want to see what Terry has in him for 1 week. And then I think Diggs is going to be all right there. I think he's the lone wide receiver. So that's where I'm going with that one.
Yep. I like it.
Our good friend Caesar, it's a flex. It's a 1 PPR. He has to choose between Tyler Warren, Jalen Waddle, DJ Moore, no tight end premium here. I did not mean to delete that question. Sorry.
I'll let you answer this one because I know he's on your list. I think it's DJ Moore for me.
It's quite easily DJ Moore for me. I got turned against Waddle last year. I hope to join the Waddle train. Maybe Josh is right about that game of the week, and I'm back in on Waddle. But for this week for me, Josh, it's DJ Moore quite easily. and we will talk about him later. Josh, are you picking up Ollie Gordon or Jordan Mason? I am not bought in on this Jordan Mason hype that the whole rest of the world is. I'm going Ollie Gordon here.
Man, I'm really hard pressed to disagree with our good friend Kendall Valenzuela over at Fantasy Life. She is all in on Jordan Mason. I do think Jordan Mason's going to get a lot more run than Ollie Gordon. That is what I will say.
That's fair.
I don't know if the red zone opportunities that people
are right.
assuming that Jordan Mason is going to be all in on. This Vikings offense is pass happy. They're not going to run the football to a point where they're scoring 15, 16, 18 rushing touchdowns. They're a 10 to 13 rushing touchdown team unless JJ McCarthy turns in like 4, and that's what's going to get them up. Jordan Mason just is not a good red zone running back. He's just not. Ollie Gordon, I think, can be that, but I think I'm okay siding with the volume that I know for a fact that Jordan Mason is going to get, whereas Ollie Gordon, I think, is still up in the air.
I'm still going to go Ollie Gordon, but you are right. There's far more guaranteed volume in Jordan Mason's future than there is Ollie Gordon. But again, we talked about this Miami offense can be relevant for more than one running back. Who finishes with more PPR points? I assume this is for week 1, but even if it's for the season, for me, it's George Pickens.
It's Tyrone McMillan for me. So
for the season and the week?
Definitely for this week. I'm bought in on the Panthers this week against that horrendous Jacksonville secondary. I'll get to my points with George Pickens later, but there's a good chance that he ends up seeing a ton of Quinyon Mitchell.
Yeah,
and
which would be a problem.
Quinyon Mitchell shut down every wide receiver he played last year. Locked him up in Quinyon Bay. CeeDee Lamb plays a lot out of the slot. Yeah. So he's going to see a
Pickens
lot
on the
more
outside by himself.
Cooper DeJean there. If Pickens is on the outside, that's where Mitchell's going to go, but Mitchell will follow as well. That's what they've been working on with him a ton in training camp this offseason. So, yeah, give me Tedero McMillan as the true number 1 there. Bryce Young ascending. And let's be honest here, in that NFC South, who are the good corners that they're going to face?
Well, there are none.
Exactly my point. McMillan is going to have 6 pretty easy layup games. And again, if we assume that the Panthers take that leap, which I know you're buying into the camp narratives that this offense just really isn't it. I'm going McMillan over Pickens.
So I'll give you this week 100%. You are right. The bad defense versus the good defense. I'll go Tet McMillan. I'm worried about Tet overall for the season. What's funny is I'm kind of comping Tet to George Pickens right now. He can't separate. He's having trouble with man-to-man press coverage. The difference is I don't know that Tet climbs the ladder the way George Pickens does, but Tet is also way longer than George Pickens. So we'll just see how all
Tetaroa.
Tedero, that's right. I'm sorry. We're not disrespecting him or his mother. Monty or Trevian Henderson, Josh, you going with the rookie or the grizzled veteran here?
I don't love Monty this week. I think it's really overblown that he's going to have like 10 plus touchdowns this year. But again, I'm somebody that I think the Detroit Lions offense is going to heavily regress. Where Monty succeeds is up the middle. And Detroit lost a lot on the interior of their offensive line this year, including their starting center. Give me Henderson.
Yep, I'm going with the rookie as well. Las Vegas should be a good matchup for the Patriots and for Trevian Henderson. David Nava over on X, where I forgot we can actually get questions over on X again, so that's nice to see out there. I also saw David shared the stream. Appreciate you, buddy.
Appreciate you.
Needs to start 1 tight end. How the fuck you have these 3 tight ends?
Damn!
What is going on here? Travis Kelce, George Kittle, and Tyler Warren. He also needs 2 flex. Does he start all 3, Josh?
I don't know that I would start all 3. Now, look, and I say this saying and knowing full well that I do like Tyler Warren this week. I think he definitely has top 5 upside. That said, I'm going to lean on the 2 vets, and I'll save that 1 flex spot. I'm assuming that you have some value that you can put in that second flex spot. But give me Kelce and Kittle. Look, who else is San Francisco throwing to right now? They're literally picking up starting wide receivers off of practice squads right now. So without Rashee Rice, Kittle or Kelsey's going to be heavily involved. I think those are the 2 guys that should outshine from this group here.
Kelsey is my tight end 2 this week. George Kittle is my tight end 3. I agree with everything Josh said. I am not starting Tyler Ward unless I am forced to this week, like we talked about in a previous question. I will flex the tight end here, and I will go with the two leaders of the fantasy tight ends, Travis Kelsey, George Kittle, and find a different flex spot. Cap for life. Back at it. Welcome back, Cap, for week 1. Thoughts on Woody Marks, Josh? I'll be honest, don't have a ton of thoughts on Woody Marks. Don't have a ton of thoughts on that offense outside of Nico Collins.
Yeah, I think the Houston running game is going to struggle. By all camp reports, Nick Chubb looks washed.
Yep.
Which not a great thing. But what I will say about Dameon Pierce, who has kind of like fallen to the back burner after, a great rookie season, they're switching schemes this year. And I feel like a lot of people are forgetting this, but the type of run scheme that they're implementing is the exact same one that Dameon Pierce succeeded in. So I think there's a chance. And when the depth charts came out, Dameon Pierce was listed as the RB2. So I think he's going to get first crack. Now, I've already said that I don't love this matchup really for the Houston Texans offense. I think that the Rams front 7 is absolutely disgusting. They're so talented, and they're going to make life hell for this offense. But more importantly, they were with Nick Caley, who is the offensive coordinator for Houston.
So they know the scheme.
Nick Caley was on their roster or their coaching staff last year. So they know exactly what Caley's going to throw at them. So I think this is a really bad matchup all told for the Houston offense. So this week, I don't love Woody Marks, but throughout the season, I think there will definitely be some opportunities, and he's definitely worth a stash on your bench.
Yeah, he could pull a Dameon Pierce on us and give us 4 good games this year.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Cap for life picking from tight ends, TJ Hawkinson and David Njoku.
Oh, I am all in on David Njoku this week. I love David Njoku.
I'd say I've been someone who's been down on Hawkinson to begin with, and I am high on David Njoku. Joe Flacco should unlock some David Njoku this week. You're going David Njoku. I don't think we need to jump more into that one. David back up. PPR 0.1 yards. I'm guessing it's just 10 yards to a point, and 5 touchdowns. Whew. I'm getting
5 points per passing
touchdown, I guess. Yeah. So they need we got some weird scoring going on.
I love it. I love it.
They need 2 wide receivers, Josh. Devonta Smith, Travis Hunter, Xavier Worthy, Cooper Kupp, DK Metcalf. I think we can eliminate the last 2 names there, Josh. I know you're going Travis Hunter. So the question is the second guy Devonta Smith, or is it Xavier Worthy?
Yeah, I want to find a way to get Smith, Hunter, and Worthy in my lineup. I'm a big fan of Hunter this week. I'll get a little bit more into that later. I talked a little bit earlier about how much I like Worthy. Devonta Smith has 6 career touchdowns in 8 games against Dallas. He plays well against Dallas.
Yes.
This is Thursday night. This is, raising the banners. This is the home game against their biggest rival. I think they're going to come out firing, and I don't think it's just going to be all on the ground. I think Saquon's going to get his. I don't think Dallas's defense is very good. I think they have arguably the most overpriced cornerback tandem in the NFL in Trayvon Diggs and Deron Bland. They bite on go routes and sluggos, and Devonta Smith is one of the smoothest route runners in the NFL. I think if you're banking on any of these guys getting a touchdown, it's Smith and Worthy. So I might lean there and just kind of like play the wait and see game with Hunter. I think I'm going to go Smith and Worthy this week.
Wow. You surprised me there. I would actually also go Smith and Worthy. I thought you were definitely going to go Hunter here. Hunter is one of those guys that I'm waiting to find out what Jacksonville is exactly doing.
And that's the thing. And that's totally fair. I think it's one of those things. Like, I love me some Hunter, and I think he's going to be great this week considering the matchup. But when you have options that you can play, you can play that wait and see game. And that's what David has here. He has a good matchup with Smith and Worthy.
Yeah. Extended Mags, thoughts on the team so far. Baker, Saquon, Chase Brown, McConkey, Sutton, Kittle, Tyrone Tracy as the flex, Texans defense, and Brandon Aubrey. I think my only concern here is the Texas defense, Josh.
I like the squad.
I say great team up and down the roster here. You're
definitely more in tune with defenses. I will say there are definitely some pundits out there that think that the Texans could make a play for the best defense in the NFL this year. I like one of them, but I've heard the noise.
Yeah, I like the Texans. I'll be honest. I didn't know how much I like the Rams matchup, but when I looked at how my week 1 ranking struck out, the Texans are my defense 5 on the week. So clearly I like them better even than my brain is telling me I like them. It's a great lineup, my friend. 4KT Owen, and then we are going to take a quick break. Carrington, I see your question. We're going to just knock out some of the show sheet here, but 4KT's been waiting a little bit. We are looking to flex Mike Evans, James Conner, or Emeka Egbuka, Josh.
Love me some Egbuka. I don't know that I would go with him over Evans. Yeah, I'm probably going to go Evans.
I'm going to talk a lot of great about James Conner in a few minutes on this show. I'm still going Mike Evans here because one, what I'm about to talk about is going to jinx the hell out of James Conner, but two, it's Mike Evans. Josh, you got to pick one of these tight ends. I know you've been high on Tucker Kraft, so I think we're going to disagree here. For me, it's Mark Andrews. For you, it is...
Honestly, I think I'm going to go Mark Andrews here too.
Okay.
Given the playoffs and what happened against Buffalo, this is the Mark Andrews revenge game. And I think that's going to come into play. He's still a very touchdown-dependent target, but without Isaiah Likely there, I think that's going to ultimately benefit him overall from a volume perspective. So give me Mark Andrews.
There you go. Guys, if you've tuned into this show before, you know we are never going to miss your questions. If you were in the chat right now, we are going to get to them just after this next segment. Josh, it is time for the tried and true segment we have been doing for years. It is our upside downside segment. We always start with the upside. We're shortening things up a little bit this year. 2 picks for you, 2 picks for me, 2 picks for Joe. Talk to me. Give me both of your picks, Josh, and then talk about the one you want to talk about.
Yeah, so it's David Njoku, 12 plus fantasy points against Cincinnati. And my big time pick here, Travis Hunter, in his first game of his career, finishes as a top 20 wide receiver. And while playing defense, gets at least 1 pass breakup as a player.
Ooh, Josh giving IDP stats.
That's about as far as I wanted to go with that. But here's the thing, and I'll start with him on the defensive side. Rookie corners get targeted, plain and simple. I don't care where you were drafted. Rookie corners will get targeted. On the opposite side is Tetairoa McMillan. These two faced off in college quite a bit. Yeah. And there's some tape going back to 2023 where Tetairoa McMillan absolutely abused the hell out of Travis Hunter.
Yeah, there's going to be a revenge game narrative here.
Yeah. And the flip side of that, though, is I do think that Hunter probably sees more Xavier Legette or even Hunter Renfrow out of the slot. And I think that's going to be an area where Bryce Young is going to be willing to target. And Legette is still kind of feeling his way through. There's a lot of talent there, not the best at separating. And I think that Hunter can make the jump and at least get 1 pass breakup. The big question here, obviously, is how much defense is he going to play versus how much offense he's going to play. He's listed as a starting wide receiver on the depth chart, but a backup corner on the depth chart as well. So I do think he ends up playing a lot more on offense, which is why I like the top 20 wide receiver call. The only halfway decent corner on the Carolina Panthers is J.C. Horn.
Yeah.
You cannot name another player in that secondary. They're that bad. So if J.C. Horn is going to lock up Brian Thomas Jr., that's going to leave a bunch of scrubs covering the 2nd overall pick in the draft. Travis Hunter is going to have a field day this week. I absolutely love the upside that he presents going into week 1.
Yeah. I have nothing to add. I don't think we're really going to push back a lot on these, so I'll move on to mine. For me, you're going to get the same special pick that you got every single week last year. This year, I'm even going to give you betting odds. So it is going to be my 2 touchdown special and a player I like. So I'm going with the 2 touchdown special, and I'm just going to quickly explain this for folks. I pick someone to score 2 touchdowns every week. They very rarely do it, but I do put money on this every week, and I've discovered if you get this right 3 times, it pays for your whole season. If you get it right 4 times, you tend to win money. So this week, it's James Conner to score 2 touchdowns against the Saints. And then I also like DJ Moore for 18 plus fantasy points, taking on the Minnesota Vikings. And Moore is who I'm going to give my time to today. Minnesota actually gave up the most fantasy points to wide receivers last year. And when I went and looked at their depth chart, Josh, they made no meaningful changes whatsoever on defense. This is the same defense. And then there's some things I found parallels to offense. We did this a lot this offseason where everyone's saying DJ Moore is going to play the Amon-Ra St. Brown role in this Ben Johnson offense. So I looked at the 2 games where DJ Moore played the Vikings last year and the 2 games where Amon-Ra St. Brown played the Vikings last year. DJ Moore, 15 and 25 fantasy points. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 13 and 25 fantasy points. Basically, the game where they popped was the game where they scored a touchdown. I think that's the difference that makes DJ Moore an 18 plus fantasy point scorer in week 1 of the NFL season against a very bad Minnesota Vikings secondary.
Yeah, they finished. They gave up the most fantasy points to wide receivers all year last year, and actually subtracted talent that they lost in free agency. So
exactly.
Yeah, I like this pick. I think it's going to be a good one.
There we go. And then while Joe could not make the show, he was kind enough to grace us with his upside picks. And Joe is doing a gimmick this season as well. Joe is going to give us one IDP upside every week, plus another player. So Joe has Max Crosby, 2 sacks against the Patriots, and Xavier Legette, 15 fantasy points against Jacksonville. I'm going to quickly read Joe's notes here before we get into the rest of the audience questions. For Joe's 2 upside picks, he says Max Crosby is either going to be facing rookie Will Campbell or Morgan Moses, who said on 98.5 The Sports Hub, I have never played against Max before. So Joe's saying it's not going to be great for anybody who's facing Max Crosby this week. And then with Joe, it's the rapport for Xavier Legette. It's the rapport with Bryce Young, who Josh mentioned finished hot last year, and Jacksonville's defense blows. He's not going to see the best corner, and he just has a gut feeling it's going to be an Xavier Legette week. Josh, still have user questions. Everybody is killing it tonight. Let's keep this thing running. Those are the upside picks. We will come back with the downside picks after we knock out the user questions, the listener questions. Carrington Hobbs, welcome back. Carrington, it's week 1 of the 2025 season. We are seeing everybody back. Josh, he was sent a trade offer. He gets Alvin Kamara if he trades away Chris Godwin. It is a PPR league, and he is a contender. I'm guessing this might be dynasty. I know Carrington's a big dynasty player.
Yeah, anytime I see the word contender, I'm instantly thinking
because aren't we all contenders in redraft right now?
I mean, look, Godwin's 29, Kamara's 29 as well. I think like in terms of age, they're basically even. At this point, give me the guy that's healthy. Give me Kamara. I'm fine with this trade.
Yeah, if you're a contender, running backs mean more to contenders than wide receivers. You can get wide receivers this year. If you win your championship this year, that's how I've always built my dynasty teams. Jeff Rogers back in the chat puts me on the spot with a question. Oh, wait, no, it's the Rams defense versus the Texans. I thought it was the Texans defense because I was like, oh, God, I'm screwed here. Cardinals defense versus the St. Josh. Rams defense versus the Texans. I was worried it was the Texans because I was going to have to pick them, but it's the Rams. I actually have the Cardinals as a top 10 play this week. I have the Rams outside of my top 15 right now, Josh. I'll have to look at that because obviously you've been talking the Rams up, but that Cardinals defense is going to be my stream of the week. Spoiler alert, I'm going with them in this question.
I love the Cardinals defense this week. Every fantasy draft I've had where I have to draft a defense or I have to start one, I've been targeting the Cardinals. Getting Spencer Rattler in week 1, sign me up.
Josh just wrote my stream of the week without even realizing it because that's exactly what I have written. I'm barely joking. So Cat for Life back in the chat says Baker, Barkley, Bucky, JSN, Worthy, Tyler Warren. This must be a second lineup. Tyler Warren, Denver defense. He's flexing Ollie Gordon and Evan Ingram. I like Ollie Gordon this week. I like Evan Ingram this week. I guess I'm mildly worried about his flex, Josh, but the rest of this lineup's going to more than make up for that, especially that Denver defense, my number 1 fantasy defense this week. So, yeah,
that's kind of how I would feel. It's a solid start. I don't love JSN, but I've been very down on JSN all year. So, Ollie is, he's working his way into the flex conversation.
Yeah,
I don't know that he's quite there yet, but
I was going to say, you're hoping, you're hoping what I said earlier in the show is true. And that is that they're going to use Achane primarily as a passing down back and let Ollie get some run in between the 20s. But, excuse me. But once they get inside the 20s, it's going to be the Devon Achane show. They're not going to trust the rookie there quite yet.
100%.
Cap for Life also has Jalen Warren or Jerome Ford, Josh, this week. For me, this might actually come down to whether it's PPR or not, but it's probably Jalen Warren for me regardless.
I think Jerome Ford is going to see a lot more run, and let's be honest, if you wanted to play, I don't want to say the same running back, but they're basically the same running back. One has to play the Jets and their front four. The other gets to play the Swiss cheese that is the Cincinnati Bengals. You tell me. I'm going to go Jerome Ford here.
My one counterpoint would be outside of DK Metcalf, who the hell else is Aaron Rodgers throwing to? I'm still going to go Jalen Warren, but I see your point.
Dude, they have 15 tight ends. Like, they're all going to be lining up outside. Like,
that's fair too. Quincy Davis has 2 wide receivers, 1 running back, 2 flex. So we're starting 5 of these guys. Josh, again, it's a big list. Nobody wants to hear me read a list. I'll let you read it and tell me which of these 5 guys you would start. Let's start with the 1 running back and go from there.
Let's see. 1 running back. Let's see. Bill, Krosky, Merritt, Gordon, Dobbins. Give me Dobbins against Tennessee.
Yep.
2 wide receivers. Yeah, T. Higgins and Travis Hunter for me there. And then 2 flexes. I'll be honest with you, I do not love Bill Krosky-Merritt this week. That Giants defensive line is stout.
Yeah.
Who does Atlanta play this week?
The Falcons play the Buccaneers.
He's been hurt. I don't know if I trust that.
Yeah,
I'll probably go Josh Downs and let's sprinkle some matchups from my game of the week. Let's go Downs and Gordon. I think that's who I would go here in the
Wow, you were just Oh no, you said Hunter would be one of your 2 wide receivers. I was like, you were just jumping through hoops to avoid Hunter. But yes, so I'm definitely sticking with Josh on Higgins and Hunter. I'm definitely sticking with Josh on J.K. Dobbins. I am going to push back. I understand not trusting Bill Krosky-Merritt because of the Giants defense, but I also think Jaden Daniels is going to put them in a nice spot this week. So I'm actually going to stay away from the wide receivers, Josh. And even though we've kind of down-talked Tony Pollard, I'm going to go Dobbins, Pollard, Krosky, and then Higgins and Travis Hunter. I'm going to stick with the guaranteed touches that we're going to see from the running backs.
Oh, that's fair.
I didn't even read if this was an actual question or if who's just talking shit right now, but he said he drafted Kyler as his QB in his work league. Should he be worried? Kyler's 0-3 against Brandon Staley's defense and hasn't passed for more than 200 yards in any of those games. New Orleans has won the last 6 openers of the season, and they are at home. That's a lot to chew on because that's a lot of really good points. Are we putting too much faith in Kyler Murray, Josh?
I think all that faith is less bestowed upon Kyler Murray and more on Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison Jr.
There you go.
Because I don't really trust anybody on that Saints defense. Sorry to burst your bubble there, Hoove. The numbers, I get it. 100%. Like Kyler has his problems. Brandon Staley also gives up a ton of rushing touchdowns. He's never ranked higher than 21st when calling a defense in rushing touchdowns allowed. So that should tell you that if Kyler is going to do anything, it's likely going to be on the ground as well. So I'm fine going Kyler. Like I'm not that worried.
I'm not worried about it either. I'm also feeling a James Conner 2-touchdown week, Hoove, and I can tell you for a fact that it pays plus 370 on DraftKings right now. I have money on it. If anybody has ever paid attention, maybe throw a little bit of money on a Trey Penson 2-touchdown game because I tend to do very well at predicting backups for a 2-touchdown game. Folks, we are going to move into the downside picks of this show. I will remind you, we do this show every single Wednesday. We also go live 4 other times every single week, and we do a pre-recorded DFS show. If you like what you are seeing from Club Fantasy, please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button. We're probably at 1,600 right now because you guys have been killing it. We've been killing it. But if we're not, be the one who gets us over there. And again, if you want to get your question answered right away, if you feel like we're taking too long, throw us a little bit of money. We'll answer your question. Super Chat is available. One last time, Josh, let these folks know what we are offering when it comes to Trophy Smack.
Absolutely. The fantasy football season is here, and Trophy Smack is where you want to get all of your rewards. They have trophies, rings, and championship belts, all designed to tell your league mates who the real champion is. And don't forget to show some love to your commissioners for the thankless jobs that they have. Hit the link in the description of this podcast and check out some of the swag that you can get for your commish and let them know they're at least the second most important person in the league behind you. All of it's available at TrophySmack.com.
When the show ends, if you guys want to keep talking football, we have an absolutely free Discord. Link is in the description of this video. Jump in there. We talk all sorts of fantasy football. We talk all sorts of fantasy baseball when you guys are up to it. But more importantly, as the league gets going, as the season gets going, you're going to see a lot more DFS talk. Austin Amendola is the champion of our Discord. And I mean the champion as in like he loves to communicate with you guys. He loves to be out there chatting it up with Club Fantasy's great fans. And he is our DFS guy. You're going to see a ton of DFS content in the Discord this season. Make sure you guys join. Absolutely free. Link in the description of this video. Josh, we talked the upside. We talked the good stuff. Let's get into the down stuff. We are doing it the exact same way as before. Everybody gets 2 picks. Josh, tell the people your 2 picks and talk to us about one of them.
Yeah, my 2 picks. CJ Stroud outside the top 20 at the Rams. I've already talked about how bad their offensive line is and how great the Rams front 7 is. It's going to struggle a little bit this week. But the one I want to talk a little bit more about, DK Metcalf held under 50 receiving yards at the New York Jets.
He can beat that in one catch, Josh. One catch.
He probably could. And you know what? He'll fall a yard short because that's DK Metcalf. So here's the thing. Yes, he's the main target and really the only reliable target that Aaron Rodgers has to throw to. I get that. He's not a great route runner. He's still very much developing that, even though he's, 6 years into the league. He's big, he's stiff, and he's fast. That's his game. He gets down the field in a hurry. He's likely going to see a lot of Sauce Gardner, who can actually match him for size, who is 6'3". Yields about 40 pounds to him, but he's 6'3" and also very fast. But here's what I like. We talk a lot about revenge games and narratives and things like that. Sauce Gardner, the first 2 years that he was in the league, was voted in the top 100 of NFL's players. He just signed the richest deal ever by a cornerback in NFL history. Guess where he was ranked in the NFL's top 100 this year?
Not.
He wasn't even named. He was off the list. This is his chance to tell everybody why he is one of the top corners in this league, and he's going to start by shutting down the only reliable receiving weapon for the Pittsburgh Steelers and Aaron Rodgers.
Nah, you have to be afraid of Sauce Gardner. You're a fool if you're not. So I 100% get what you're saying here. And it goes back to the same sort of thing I was saying about Ricky Pearsall. Does being the only wide receiver in Pittsburgh, especially against a team that has corners like this, does it work to the detriment of DK Metcalf? And that's actually going to come up in my segment as well. I like that pick, Josh. When I look at my two picks, I'll start with, I give you a 2-touchdown special. I give you a no touchdown special. And that's going to be Calvin Ridley taking on the Denver Broncos. And it goes into a lot of what Josh was saying about DK Metcalf. The Denver Broncos have two very, very good corners, including probably the best corner in the league. And the Tennessee Titans have absolutely nobody else to worry about. They're going to be able to lock Calvin Ridley down. And when I went and looked at the stats, the Denver Broncos gave up, I believe, the fewest fantasy points to wide receivers last season. It's not going to be great. No touchdowns for Calvin Ridley this week. But I think the one I need to talk about, Josh, is the rookie, Amarian Hampton. I'm saying he will not finish in the top 20 in his very first week, whether Najee Harris plays or not, but Najee Harris is going to play. I still wouldn't give him top 20 against the Kansas City Chiefs. No team last season gave up fewer points to running backs than the Kansas City Chiefs. Only two teams gave up fewer rushing touchdowns to running backs than the Kansas City Chiefs did. I also don't love that this game is in Brazil. I'm glad that the NFL is expanding, but a lot of times those fields don't have great footing, and that is going to hurt running backs. We've seen it before. I think we could see it again here. I then went back and looked at the two games where the Chargers played the Kansas City Chiefs last season, this vaunted Chargers rushing defense. The running backs last year, which had pretty decent seasons, J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards to a lesser extent, the Chargers running backs in those two games combined for 24 fantasy points. Every back combined in two games for a total of 24 fantasy points, and not one of them scored more than 9 fantasy points, Josh. I don't see this being the week where young Amarian Hampton pops off in fantasy football.
So the reigning offensive player of the year, Saquon Barkley, happened to play against this exact same defense in the Super Bowl. How'd he do? Not great. They absolutely shut down Saquon Barkley in the Super Bowl. That game was won by Jalen Hurts in the passing game and the defense, right?
Yep.
They can stop good running backs.
Wasn't Philly in the Brazil game last year too, though?
Yeah, and that field was absolutely terrible.
That's what I thought. I was going to say.
Saquon averaged 4.5 yards per carry, over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. But playing the Packers and playing the Chiefs are two different things.
Yeah, that's true. Like I said, I remember the narrative from that game last year being that the field was terrible. Saquon Barkley didn't live up to it. I think Amarian Hampton will. Or won't, rather. And then Joe's two picks, he's going both offense on these picks, and it kind of plays into the things we've already talked about this week, though one of them is ludicrous. Joe's first pick is Cam Ward outside of the top 24 against the Denver Broncos. Joe's whole narrative here is rookie quarterbacks, their first time in Denver. It's a terrible welcome to the NFL moment. But Josh, we might have to spend a little time roasting Joe here. CeeDee Lamb, not a top 12 play against your Philadelphia Eagles. He says Dak Prescott is either the reincarnation of Jesus or he could be replaced with Ben DiNucci. He's choosing to believe the DiNucci comes out in this matchup. I don't think it matters how bad the quarterback is. CeeDee Lamb on volume alone, Josh, I think could still be a top 12 wide receiver. Do you think Joe could be right here?
Yes and no. The same reason that I'm down on George Pickens, there's an opportunity where CeeDee Lamb can struggle.
Yeah.
Cooper DeJean, for as great as he was, he gave up receptions and he gave up yards. What he was great at was not giving up yards after the catch because he has such great closing speed.
And that's what I'm worried about with Lamb.
Yeah, but again, when you look at what CeeDee Lamb did, and more importantly, didn't do against the Eagles last year, he could not separate from this defense. He was very limited in what he was able to do going against both Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell. So again, I think there's room for this take to come to fruition where maybe he's more of a top 24 wide receiver versus a top 12. But, and again, he's CeeDee Lamb. So of course everybody's going to start him and you'd be stupid not to, but it just boils down to sometimes, you're making these predictions where, hey, if somebody's going to struggle, I need to put a high upside flex in my lineup, right? Because I need to be able to say, look, I got to go that boom route because I think my stud may struggle this week. Because at the end of the day, you're not benching CeeDee Lamb, but going into this saying, look, Philly's got really good corners in Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell. There's a good chance that even this pass-happy Cowboys offense that has no running game to speak of can still slow down CeeDee Lamb and George Pickett, which is also why I like Jake Ferguson a lot this week. Philly tends to give up points to tight ends, and there's opportunity there with our beat-up linebacker core.
Yeah, I was going to say, Philly has always been – I remember you and Kira Wojtrowski used to always be like, if
tight ends always find a way against us.
Tight ends find a way. It's death taxes and tight end touchdowns against the Philadelphia Eagles. Speaking of high ceiling flex plays, Josh, Caesar has a flex play question for us. Devonta Smith taking on those Dallas Cowboys, or Emeka Egbuka taking on the Atlanta Falcons.
Man, I love both of these guys. I mean, in terms of flex, I wouldn't actually put Smith in my flex because he's playing Thursday. I'd put him in my actual wide receiver spot.
Great fantasy.
So it kind of depends on maybe who that starting wide receiver is versus Emeka Egbuka. But if I'm just comparing these two, I do like Egbuka a lot this week. But give me Devonta Smith. I think he's gonna show out this week. He traditionally does really well against Dallas.
Both very close to each other in my rankings, but like Josh, I have Devonta Smith just a little bit ahead. I am going to go with Devonta Smith. I think this is a Dallas team that can be passed on. Corners are a little banged up. They have no pass rush. I think this is a game where we see good out of A.J. Brown and good out of Devonta Smith. But like Josh said, great fantasy advice from Josh. Do not have Devonta Smith in your flex. Give yourself that flexibility. Make sure he is at wide receiver and put somebody else in your flex. That way, if there's a wacky scratch on Sunday, you have the right players in place to fix that. Josh, it is that time of the year again. We get into my stream of the week. I'm going to quickly explain stream of the week before I cut my 1-minute promo that you guys will find on YouTube Shorts tomorrow morning as well. Every week, I'm going to go through the ESPN rankings. Studies show most players are still playing the most on ESPN right now. And I'm going to pick a quarterback, a tight end, and a defense that are all under 50% rostered on ESPN. That means they're probably available in your league too. Those are my streams of the week. I'm also going to drop a full article tomorrow that's going to give you a full top 5 list at all of these positions. I'm also very into accountability. So during my article, you guys will see how well I did the week before or how terribly I did the week before. I own the bad weeks the same way I own the good weeks. It's a fun time. I look forward to writing the first version of the article tonight or tomorrow morning. But let's get into the week 1 streams of the week here for the show. Week 1 streams of the week, all available in 50% of ESPN leagues. At quarterback, give me Trevor Lawrence taking on the Carolina Panthers. Trevor Lawrence was one of my favorite late round quarterbacks. He's available in a ton of leagues right now. The Panthers defense is still bad. They give the second most points to fantasy quarterbacks last year. I'm going to take the guy who has Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter at weapons. We're going to take Hunter Henry at home against the Las Vegas Raiders as my streamer tight end. Henry actually led the team in targets last year. And to be honest, this is a Josh McDaniels offense that loves tight ends. He could do it again this season. Vegas gave up the 3rd most fantasy points to tight ends last season, and Hunter Henry tends to start fast. He had great weeks to open the season last year. Arizona Cardinals, as I mentioned before, will be my streaming defense. They are on the road against the New Orleans Saints. We're picking on a bad quarterback here. In 7 games last year, Spencer Rattler threw just 4 touchdown passes. He threw 5 interceptions and also fumbled the ball 5 times. We are looking for sacks. We are looking for turnovers. That's what we're going to see in this game. Those are your week 1 streams of the week for the 2025 season. Full article out tomorrow. Josh.
Love it. I'm a big Cardinals fan, and this week I think that they absolutely eat up the Saints. No, great picks all around, Ryan.
Appreciate it. It's sometimes easy in week one. I just go to the guys who I like as late round targets. How many teams I have Trevor Lawrence and Hunter Henry starting the season? I don't think they're going to be streamers for very long. I do see some questions in the chat, guys. We're going to get to those in just a second. But Josh, talk to them a little bit about the other promo we have going on. We are still working with Underdog Fantasy.
Absolutely. You can sign up over at Underdog using code WOFF. That's WOFF. Claim yourself a free pick and a first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. This is all prop bets. You can do best ball tournaments. You can do a lot of different things over on Underdog, but we like to focus on the prop bets in this little segment.
Yeah, and that gets us into, we are going to give you 2 Thursday night props. Joe did not knock this question out, so it's just going to be 2, but you can combine 2 on Underdog and make a little bit of money. The one thing, and I'm glad Josh did this, you may have done it on purpose, you have to pick people from opposite sides of the ball. You can't pick 2 players from the same team. So Josh has someone from the Cowboys. I have someone from the Eagles. It kind of goes in line with what we've been saying on the show. Josh, what do you got going on here?
Yeah, I'm going lower on Pickens receiving total, which is 55.5. I was actually looking on Hard Rock Bet, which is the only legal sports betting app here in Florida.
Okay.
Their line is actually 53.5. So you do get a little bit of a cushion on Underdog here. But again, as I've talked about, Quinion Mitchell is an absolute dog. He shuts down wide receivers. I would not be shocked if he ends up covering George Pickens for a vast majority of this game. And that is going to limit his yardage totals. Yes, I understand he's a downfield threat. He has that big play opportunity, and there's the ability there. Quinion Mitchell is one of the faster corners in the NFL as well. He can keep up with George Pickens all the way around, and I think this is going to be a less than stellar debut for George Pickens.
Yep, and I'm going to the other side of the ball. I'm going with the other big play wide receiver in this game, A.J. Brown over 68.5 yards, Josh. And I was looking to see which one I liked better out of A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. I've seen Devonta Smith on sports betting lines way lower at like 46.
He's at 53.5.
I was going to say, well, I've seen him lower even on FanDuel or on DraftKings, but that might have changed earlier in the week. But on Underdog, that's what it is. It's 53. And I'm like, I'll pay the extra 15 yards and take A.J. Brown. I think you could probably pick both of these guys, but for me, it's Brown. Josh, I just see this as this first game of the year. He's not 100% healthy, but he's healthy enough. He's as healthy as he's going to be probably for the rest of the season. I think A.J. Brown goes ahead and goes off against the Dallas Cowboys. Those are going to be our Underdog props. As always, we end these shows with your user questions. We do not ignore a question. This is going to be the last segment of the show. If you got a question, get it in now. Otherwise, we are going to miss your question. Josh, Rome the host, new name, welcome. Start a wide receiver and a flex. Michael Pittman, JCM, Josh Downs, Marvin Mims, Adam Thielen, Rashad Bateman.
Ooh, I love me some Marvin Mims. That Tennessee secondary is pretty brutal. He's definitely got a lot of big playability and touchdown upside, especially as the wide receiver 2 in that offense opposite Cortland Sutton. I'm inclined to go Pittman. I feel like a lot of people are really down on him, and he's still a big volume guy. As I mentioned earlier in the show,
like this game, Josh.
I like this matchup. I think it's going to be very fantasy friendly. Sure, we all know what Daniel Jones is or really isn't at this point in his career, but he can distribute. There may not be a ton of touchdown upside. I think that's ultimately going to lie with Jonathan Taylor in the running game, but Pittman is a volume guy. And I think when you can get that out of a, wide receiver 2 or 3, and then you can aim for the upside with the big plays with the Marvin Mims, I think that lends itself to a pretty reliable pairing.
Yeah, I'm not going to go with Mims or Downs just because of the injury concerns right now. If I can avoid injury players, I'm going to avoid injury players. It is Pittman for me, Josh, and I'm going to stick with Bill. I think there's all this hype around Bill. I'm going to go with Bill Krosky-Merritt in week 1. I am going to say, Josh, just real quick, just to pick on this question a bit, I am not bought into this Adam Thielen hype. He was kind of outplayed by lesser than wide receivers in Carolina. I don't think he's just going to go to Minnesota and be old Adam Thielen again, except that he is old Adam Thielen now. So not bought in there.
Yeah, I'm with you on Thielen. That was strictly a depth play because they're not going to have Addison for the first 3 games of the season.
Exactly. Tyrone Tracy or Jalen Warren, Josh, Gator J making me choose between my babies here. 2 of my absolute favorite RB2s in fantasy football right now.
Yeah, it's Tyrone Tracy for me.
It's Jalen Warren for me. No, it's probably Tyrone Tracy. I don't know. Oh man, this is tough. No, it's Jalen Warren for me. I'm going to go the PPR side of things. I get where Josh is coming from. I hope the Giants throw to Tyrone Tracy more. God knows I do. Timon Shamus, Simon Thomas. I bet he just flipped his S in his T. Simon Thomas having fun with me, not being able to pronounce anything. But we'll call him Timon Shamus. 10 teams, half PPR, 3 wide receivers, 2 RBs, 2 flex. Should he trade Travis Hunter for TJ Hockenson and Bill? This is an absolute hell no for me, Josh.
Yeah, I'm definitely not making that move. I'm not as bought in on TJ Hockenson as most. Now, don't get me wrong, Hockenson is very much an upgrade over Dallas Goedert in this instance. Trying to think who else he's got here. Monra, McLaurin, DJ Moore, Keon Coleman, Josh Downs, Godwin, Leggett.
He doesn't really need
Bill. You have depth at wide receiver. I get it.
See, I think he needs,
I still wouldn't do it. Travis Hunter is the best piece in the deal. So
yeah, I think he needs Travis Hunter more than he needs Bill. When you look at those running backs, Kyron and Chase Brown are your every week starters. Pacheco is good. We don't know what we're getting out of Braylon. Brian Robinson could be great. I'm not making this trade whatsoever.
Yeah, and let's be honest, your RB1 is Lamar Jackson. He's your RB1 and QB1. So
timing back with us, Travis Hunter for Rashee Rice and Blake Corum. I'm not doing this trade either. I can't believe people are even rostering Blake Corum. Is this a dynasty? Because I'm still not making the trade, even if it's dynasty.
No, but he has Kieran Williams, so they're throwing in the handcuff side.
Oh no, I get that, but I'm like, why does that other team have Blake Corum rostered? Like the Williams manager should be the only team that has.
Yeah, no, that's 100% fair. Yeah, no, I'm not making this trade simply because you're literally getting nothing from this trade for 6 weeks. And that just becomes detrimental to your lineup.
And you were already deep at wide receiver, like Josh pointed out. I say let this Hunter thing play it out. You drafted him when you did. Let it play out.
Yeah.
Jeff Rogers wants to know where we project Mahomes. Josh, I believe he finished as my QB5 for my final week 1 projection.
Yeah, I think he was my QB6. Jeff, if you've got a little bit of time, the timestamps are in there. You can check out our Kansas City Chiefs Look Inside preview episode. I made the case that Patrick Mahomes could finish as a top 3 quarterback in 2025. It's very much within the realm of possibilities. I think this is going to be a Patrick Mahomes revenge tour season. It's very rare that elite quarterbacks like him get absolutely shellacked and embarrassed in the Super Bowl. And when they do, they bounce back in a very big way. And I think that is well within the realm of possibilities for Patrick Mahomes in what might end up being Travis Kelce's swan song.
There you go. Carrington has a PPR dynasty. What is one player people are not that high on that you would target, Josh?
Man, you really put me on the spot here.
I was going to say, this is a loaded ass question, Carrington. Right? I'm trying to
PPR dynasty, one player that people aren't as high on that you would target. Oh man, I got to go to my rankings. Shit.
Well, I'll throw out a guy that Josh talked about a little bit on this show. Marvin Mims, I think, is a guy that you should definitely be considering as the second wide receiver there in Denver. A lot of people think he's going to get overshadowed by Troy Franklin or even Pat Bryant.
Not even Troy Franklin. I would say Evan Ingram.
Yeah. Oh, there's that too. But I think Marvin Mims is a guy that people aren't talking about that I would probably target. Sliding over to running back while Josh is looking at people. I don't know that Trey Benson has the hype that is deserved for a guy who was one of the better projected running backs from last season. We've seen this before where a guy doesn't necessarily find the footing in year 1. James Conner performed better than what we expected. The wheels are going to fall off of James Conner. I'll give you Marvin Mims and Trey Benson.
Since it's PPR, this might shake things a little bit. See what you could move to get Jameson Williams. And the biggest reason I say this is he's coming up on a contract extension.
Yeah.
There's a chance he may not resign in Detroit.
Ooh, and if he ends up somewhere else.
And if he ends up on
he's the Tyreek Hill replacement in Miami?
He's going to get absolutely paid. And I think that when you look at the skill set that he brought in from, I believe he was at, I know it was at Alabama at one point. I think it was at OSU.
Yeah.
But
he was the one who
could do it all. Like he wasn't just a deep threat. And I feel like because of the presence of Amon-Ra St. Brown, that's just how they're using him. They're just using him as that deep threat. He's somebody that I'm really keeping an eye on because I think he could challenge for 120 targets this year. And if he can do that and he ends up in a place outside of Detroit when free agency hits, there's a chance you have a 140 target guy on his new team. And I think that's somebody that I would 100% want to target.
I love that. Marco Tucci wants to know Adams and Olave or AJ Brown. I assume he would be gaining AJ Brown in this trade the way it's written.
Yeah, if I can get AJ Brown for that, I'm going to do it 1,000 times out of 1,000. I think AJ Brown is one of the few wide receivers in fantasy football that has legitimate top 6 upside week in and week out. The Eagles have a very condensed target tree in their passing game, and he is the numero target. And for all of the, he's going to run first offense. Well, you guys are propping up Lad McConkey, and what the fuck kind of offense is he in? And AJ Brown actually knows how to score touchdowns. So
a run first.
Give me the big playability of AJ Brown with his 16 plus yards per reception on top of 1,400 plus yard potential and 10 plus touchdown potential as well.
I love Devontae Adams. I think he's my wide receiver 15. AJ Brown is a top 10 wide receiver for me, and this is not paying a lot to move up 5 spots in my rankings. I'm going to go out and get AJ Brown here as well.
Correct.
Josh, Cat for Life wants to know our feelings on Xavier Legette. And I've been catching some shit for my feelings on the Panthers, so I'm just going to run through my feelings, Josh, and let you chime in here. So I cover the Panthers for Football Guys in the preseason. I go through and read every beat writer's report about everything that happens, and then I summarize it for a week. I went from being probably the highest person on Club Fantasy on the Carolina Panthers to arguably the lowest person at Club Fantasy on the Carolina Panthers. Bryce Young did not come in as hot as he went out last season. He's better than he looked last preseason when he was benched, so I don't think he gets benched this year. But here's what I will go all the way into Legette. Every story was very obviously about Tetaroa McMillan, and that's fine. He's the number 1 pick. He's Mike Evans Jr., He's what this offense needs. The next receiver that was talked about was not Xavier Legette. It was Jalen Coker. Jalen Coker lit camp up. I fully believe, I said this to, I think, Gator J when we had a small chat this week, that Jalen Coker would have stolen the starting job from Xavier Legette if they had held on to Adam Thielen and Coker had not got hurt. Coker is starting on the IR, so it doesn't matter. The next receiver that was talked about was still not Xavier Legette. It was Jimmy Horn, the kid from Colorado who just dazzled everybody with his speed. The next receiver that was talked about was finally Hunter fucking Renfrow, who somehow gets cut and then is a starter on the depth chart after the team brings him back in. Xavier Legette, the only headline he made this entire offseason was throwing that punch in that preseason game and having to apologize it afterward. He did not pop in training camp. I don't know that he pops in the season, Josh. I'm officially worried about Xavier Legette.
I wouldn't be that worried, mostly because nobody's paying attention to him.
No, that's fair. Yeah, you want a free guy?
And I'm perfectly fine betting on the first round draft capital. They spent a first round pick on this kid. They're going to use him. Now, like Jalen Coker getting hurt might be the blessing in disguise that Xavier Legette needs.
Yeah.
To be like, all right, this is my chance to shine out. We know that the top 2 wide receivers in this Dave Canales scheme are what do the damage. Yeah. So Legette has an opportunity to show that, hey, there was a reason that I was a first round pick in 2024.
I hope you're right. I want to love this offense, but I'm worried. And then
Gator free in drafts. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Speaking of free, we gave you guys 2 Underdog picks earlier, and Saquon Barkley has a free pick on Underdog right now, so you can turn it into a 3-pick parlay. Make yourself a little bit of money. Josh, that wraps up the week 1 episode of No Punt Intended. Folks, like, subscribe, drop your comments. Did you like our upside? Did you like our downside? Did you like Josh's smash play of the week and Malik Nabers? Let us know in the comments. And if you want to keep talking football after the show ends, be sure you join that free Discord. Josh, I'm going to let you read what we have going on here at Club Fantasy, because it's going to take you a half an hour to get through this, but it also reminds me of all the shows that I forget that we do now. I keep saying, we go live 5 times a week, 6 times a week. We go live way more than that now.
Yeah, so I'll start with Tuesday nights. We go live with a little recap / preview with our newest Women of Fantasy football show, Sideline Banter, featuring Matthew Berry Fantasy Life's Samantha Holt and her co-host Derek Tate. So if you missed that last night, it's live on both the Club Fantasy FFL YouTube page as well as the Women of Fantasy Football YouTube page. So if you haven't subscribed to that one, hop over there, search Women of Fantasy Football. throw a subscribe over there. Thursday mornings are DFS Showdown slate video. Oh, Captain, my captain, with myself and Austin. We recorded that previous to this show. That will be dropping Thursday morning at 9 a.m., previewing this week's Dallas Cowboys versus the Philadelphia Eagles for DFS purposes. And then, of course, Thursday nights, 6:45 Eastern, the greatest 15 minutes on the internet, the Sneaky Flex. It's our Women of Fantasy Football start-sit show. Wendy Early hosts, and it features the Sneaky Girls, Rowan and Macy, who won their fantasy league last year and absolutely crush their flex picks for you. Friday mornings is DFS Academy with Ryan and Austin. They're covering the
main slate,
Sunday slate of games for DFS purposes, DraftKings, FanDuel. And then, of course, Saturday mornings, a little bit different as Joe's work with Banana Ball and the Savannah Bananas and Texas Tailgaters and all those great teams gets in the way a little bit. So Gator J is coming back into the fold. I told him he couldn't work this season. He had to come back and do some podcasts because we missed him over the summer. So Jay's going to be hosting. I'll be there with you, and we'll have a slew of guests. This week we're going to have Club Fantasy Zone, Joel Worth joining us, and we're going to be answering every single one of your week one start sit questions. So hopefully you didn't fall behind too big after Thursday night and Friday night. But if you did, we've got the plays to help you get through it. Of course, Monday mornings at 11 a.m., Ryan and I with Gator will be on Monday's Hangxiety. We're recapping all of the weekend's games, talking about the highs, the lows, and what to expect going forward. And of course, Tuesday mornings, Ryan and I are back with Wiretapped. It is our weekly waiver wire show telling you when, where, and how to blow all of your fab.
Boom. Josh, 2 quick questions as we get out of here. Who wins the trade, Bucky Irving or Derrick Henry for the, let's assume this is redraft?
Oh, man. I love me some Bucky Irving, but I think I still got to go with Derrick Henry.
I'm going Bucky Irving. Give me the fresh legs. And Josh, this is another put on the spot question. Who's the biggest bust candidate? What I went and did real quick, Josh, on my own rankings was look for the player that I was way low on compared to everyone else. This is not probably the biggest bust, but I think it's a player people are too high on. For me, I am 43 spots below the consensus on Cam Scatabo. I think Tyrone Tracy holds on to that job way longer than people think he does. I'm not as in on Cam Scatabo as everybody else.
I will mention the guy who's swan song I've been singing all frickin' summer, and that's Jackson Smith and Jigba.
There you go.
I don't think he's a good fit for what Clint Kubiak wants to do, and I think that's going to be very detrimental to not only his production, but also the Seattle Seahawks offense.
There you go. That's going to wrap up week one, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. If we missed your questions, like Josh mentioned, we are doing start-sit questions all day on Saturday. But more importantly, you can get way better start-sit advice the next time we are live on air, which is the Sneaky Flex tomorrow night. You'll see Josh and I again on Monday. You'll see this show again next Wednesday. Always remember, defense wins championships. Offense wins fantasy football. We'll see you next week.